Theresa May negotiated the UK into a very disadvantageous place, as even if Prime Minister Boris Johnson sticks to his guns, it is unlikely Britain will get an Australia deal, the director of the Centre for Brexit Policy has claimed. The UK and EU have resumed face-to-face Brexit trade talks in London this weekend, as the deadline to strike a deal moves closer. The transition period is coming to an end in just over a month, but the EU's chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier claimed that talks would need to be done with patience and communication if both sides are able to land a deal. Negotiations were halted last week after a member of the EU's team tested positive for coronavirus. Tweeting on Friday, Mr. Barnier said that the same significant divergences persist between the UK and the EU. Both sides have been in deadlock for months over issues such as fishing rights, governance of the agreement, and the so-called level playing field. As Prime Minister Boris Johnson continues to insist that Britain is ready to leave the bloc without an agreement, John Longworth, the director of the Centre for Brexit Policy, has revealed why he thinks the government is currently trapped. He wrote in a recent report, "It is down to that failure to focus on the economy, however, that many of our current troubles lie, as it allowed the Remain-orientated, damage limitation May administration, combined with an out-and-out Remain parliament to negotiate us into a very disadvantageous place. It was a negotiation which was against our own national interests, conducted as if we should be forced to suffer for the heresy of denying the EU religion. The result is that the government is now on a sticky wicket, trapped between the necessity of repudiating the previously ratified withdrawal agreement and seeking a deal which would seriously impact our ability to make the best of our new-found economic freedoms. Even Boris' Australia-style deal, WTO terms of trade, plus administrative mini-deals, would end up with us looking less like what an Antipodean economic success and more like a version of its origins, a penal colony of the EU. For those who dismiss Aussie rules, Mr. Longworth argued, it is worth reflecting that for most of the last 150 years Australia has had one of the highest GDP per capita ratios and growth rates in the world, outstripping its colonial motherland very early in its history. Another interesting statistic is that only 13% of the UK economy and 8% of businesses are involved with EU trade, the remainder being either purely domestic operators or trading instead with the rest of the world. He added, any deal needs to be primarily favorable to these firms, rather than the EU, and also to our predominant service sector, for which there remains no single market in the EU to speak of. The EU was, after all, designed to suit German manufactures and French agriculture.